I mean, really, you can only fire one bullet at a time. So this is sort of moot, right? Like firing the bullet ends your turn, is going to be the idea. So I'm going to have the standalone exe here be both the host. Host means it's the server and the client. And then over here, I'm just going to connect to it. So now we got two. I control mine. I turn this way, and I fire. And can I, if I do this, there we go. Confirm the movement. And there will be a little bit of a delay there. Partially because there's actual lag, but the way we sync the movement over here, it's not synced, like, instantly and accurately. Because it doesn't have to in this game. Instead, it's, you know, just made to look, like, really cool and smooth. So the delay is okay. Check the turret movement. There we go. Now, it's a little chunky as we move over here. That's because we're not doing any kind of, like, smooth lerping from one to another as opposed to the movement. But I think that's okay. And I was aware of this. Like, it only updates one every, 10 milliseconds or so, plus or minus latency. And I think that's fine that it's a little chunky over here. And then fire. Yeah, the bullets are definitely, like, properly synced up everywhere. Seems good. Okay. Next, we want to be able to change the power. Now, just like the position, the power is just a variable. So the only question is, how do we change the variable value? And what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the W and S key for that, because I don't think they're going to get used for anything else. So that's the vertical axis. So just like here, where we are adjusting the... No, sorry. Just like here, where we're changing the turret angle, I'm going to make another one. Power for power. I'll call it just power change. And it's just going to be the vertical axis. Turret power speed. So again, we still have a number we can tune to get like things to feel like they're changing right. If you're holding shift, and we only do it 10th. And the turret power is going to be the current power plus the thing. You can't go negative. I don't know what the maximum power will be. It looks like right now 10 is pretty damn big, like more or less going off the screen. I will let people go up to like 20 or something, but like higher than that seems to have no point. We're almost certainly going to be firing in effectively a straight line at this point. So we have to set the turret power speed over here. Right here. Float, turret power speed. I think like we could set it to 10. That means we could go from 0 to 10 in 1 second. Actually, that's probably okay. I think that's probably fine. Yeah. 2 seconds to go all the way up to 20? Maybe that's a little slow. We do offer the shift. Tell you what, let's do something like this. We do offer the shift to slow it down if you need to fine-tune things. Now, visually, we can't tell what the power of our turret is. So clearly we need some way to display it. Now, I suspect in, the final polished version, you'll get some sort of like arrow graphic coming out of your turret that gets, longer to sort of simulate how much power is going on. So just some sort of visual effect like that. Almost certainly. But for now, I'm just going to go and display the number on the screen. Done and done. So we've got some text already here, which right now is just like timer countdown, which is going to be moot because we're not going to go and do like, we're going to be turn-based probably. But I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate this. And, oh, we are on the wrong type of widget. I'm going to move it down here. This is going to be power number like that. And remove component for the script. And I just want to get like the value fed into there. I'm going to do a really lazy way right now because I don't know what the final thing will be. But in the update over here, which really only happens on our own authority. So I guess I'll make it part of the authority. This is like to do. Make the power display cooler and decouple from this code. I don't like the tank logic to be controlling some sort of user interface element, but I don't know what the user interface element will be, and right now this is a super easy way to do it. So I'm going to intentionally make it bad, because this is slow. This is the sort of thing you don't want to do every single frame. Now, it's not apocalyptically slow, but finding an object in your hierarchy every frame is not ideal, but I'm going to leave it in here to intentionally be bad. So this is going to be the PNGO is going to be that. And the pn.go has a get component on it, which is text, which would require us to include the Unity Engine UI library in here, which I don't want to do. So again, I'm going to like make it really .ui, .text. Like everything about this is not the way we want to do it, but that's okay. .text is equal to, so our turret power, .toString, yeah, and some sort of formatting to, so if I do like that, I think it's the way that forces it to have up to 2 decimals all the time with zeros. I never get this right. It also doesn't help that the toString format is different from another way of doing the formatting. Ah, excellent. Okay, now, this is a little hard to control right now, and part of it is because the sensitivity and gravity, because I'm doing one tap and it's sort of, the sensitivity and gravity on the vertical axis is not like 1,000. So there's a little bit of lag time as it builds up and a little bit of lag time as it comes down, just as like an input thing. So I'm just going to tweak the vertical axis to be like big sensitivity. The other way that you could avoid this is if you got input raw. That would tell you the raw number ignoring the gravity and sensitivity, which might be right, but your next test build, check the client turret syncing wasn't working. Oh, I will double check that. There you go. That feels better. It's probably too quick, although you can hold shift for fine tuning. I don't know, it might be okay. I think I'm going to slow it down, and yeah, let's do a check there. I might have missed something. I'm going to cut it back down half. Build and run. So only the host turrets was being synced. Really? Do. So I'm going to have this one be the host this time, because it'll be a little easier to see. And this one can connect. And if I move down here, so this is the client, so I can move this way. Oh, you're right. Okay. Now the server is correctly getting the spawning information. So the server knows that I'm supposed to be spawning the bullet over here. It's just not updating its graphic. Why for is that? This is running for everyone. Oh, no, I'm wrong. I'm wrong about something. The server isn't using its own information about the bullet's position and velocity. That gets passed as the command. I am, in fact, wrong. So the server's probably never getting the info. Because we probably never call command change turret angle, do we? I was fooling myself because I forgot we passed that info here, which we might not want to do. We might want to have the server use its own information. But yeah, I never actually call this. So after we change our turret angle, we actually have to say, hey, server, here's the new info over here. Now, the server doesn't need to know the turret power at this time. because that's not something we sync because no one needs. There's no way to really visualize that. Let me stop that again. I mean, I'm 90% sure, 99% sure that it's working now, but I was also sure last time. Play and play. Again, I'll host here, so this will be the server. I'll move you over here. You're gonna be the client. And so now my client, I'm gonna move over here, move my turret. Excellent. Fire. Fire. And just to confirm, if I move you this way, that's over there as well. And if I fire that, well, yeah, just barely saw it, but yeah, okay, we're good now. Excellent. So, we're at the point where we can shoot, so let's make us hit. Seems fine, right? Just passing it on can create issues. Yeah, because there's... Well, I mean, there's pros and cons. Like, either we check here that the position and velocity are legal, or we pass the sync command to the server. Like, the thing is, we couldn't tell the server what our new power is over here. I don't know. 6 and 1 half doesn't need the other. Either way, the server's got to check somewhere, so we'll come back to it. So, let's make the bullets shoot some things. Now, right now, the bullets are not just triggers. They actually collide. Which, there might be some bullets that could, like, bounce, right? Imagine there's some sort of thing that, like, if it hits the ground, it bounces. If it hits a player, it explodes. If its velocity gets down too low, then it also explodes. Or it has, like, a maximum number of bounces or something like that, right? But the low velocity would be good. Like, if it bounces less, boom, 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 kind of thing. That's pretty legit. So we might want it to be an actual, you know, collidable rigid body. Again, we probably won't be firing multiple bullets at a time, so it's going to be kind of moot. So I'm kind of okay with this. We could, very easily, if it's a problem, so our bullet over here, we could give it a different layer for collisions. And first of all, we probably should. We should probably have the tanks on one layer and the bullets on another. And even if we don't do anything else with it, because there's probably times where we're going to want some sort of command control for that. So let's go ahead and do it, get it over with. We're going to make a bullet layer. We're going to make a tank layer. I'm going to take the bullets. We're going to make sure that it's on the bullet layer. Yes, change children, that's fine. And the tank, same thing. Gives us more control for various rendering, various filtering, all kinds of nice things. And yeah, what we could do at this point is go into project settings, physics, actually physics 2D, because we are just using 2D physics for this. And we could say something like, bullets don't collide with one another. First of all, if you do have a weapon that sprays out a ton of bullets, you actually remove a lot of overhead from the physics system if they don't constantly have to be checking each other. And usually, like, a ton of bullets would be like a spray from a machine gun. So you can save a lot of work by making all the bullets that are spraying out on the machine gun not check for collision with each other, because honestly, they can't really collide with one another. They're all going the same direction anyway. It doesn't make any sense. So, and we could do something different for a special case, but for now we'll do that. But they still collide with everything else, the ground, the whatever. Speaking of the ground, we have the ground here. Now, the ground is just a single sprite. Let's go and add a collider on here. Just like a box collider 2D is going to be fine. And yeah, right now you're the whole box, and that's okay. And not that we really need it, but just to say, I'm going to add a rigid body 2D on here, but it's not going to be simulated. No, that's not the way to do it. I forget the interface is different here. We're going to say it's static. Okay? It's not supposed to move in any way whatsoever. So now if we fire a bullet, it will go and actually bounce onto the ground. Ooh. Thump, 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 thump. What the heck is it that is causing these things to vibrate so nuts? Is it a lack of, like, rotational drag or something? I mean, in a sense, it's moot because they'll probably explode at this point. You have some angular drag. Actually, probably wouldn't be a bad idea to give you a scooch of linear drag just to get you to chill the hell out for some of the things. I wonder why they're like that. So there's something funky about the 2D collision system. I mean, discrete's fine. Sleeping mode start awake is fine. The thing is, like, they're never going to sleep. There might be some values here we have to tune. The other thing we could do is we could give we could tune the physics material of things to, like, soak more of the bouncing. It's probably some sort of, like, sleep constraint or something here. One of the offsets. Is these little things over here can allow us to, like, tune these little things so that they, like, round off and chill out faster, but I don't think it's a physics desync. At this point, like, the network transform doesn't update itself. It spawns once and that's it. I mean, I could test it by turning it off, but we're just operating local. Like, there's no networking or physics to desync at this point. Yeah, it's not the network transform at all, because it never syncs. Other than, like, the very first time you spawn it, and then it just, it's done. I don't know. And just out of curiosity, obviously if we increase the mass, we're gonna have to, like, change the scale of our power, or not. Oh right, we're setting a velocity, so no, I thought, like, maybe it'll change the way it interacts with gravity or something. We're not gonna worry about it. It's gonna be okay. Well, we'll sort it out later. Maybe not using a box collider. And actually, honestly, there's something to be said about that, right? Like, I'm using a box collider on the bullet over here. But is that really the best possibility? Why does it zoom out way far when I click on the bullet normal itself? I guess because it doesn't have a size. Like, instead of a box collider... And at this point, I shouldn't be messing with this. We're just wasting time. But, out of curiosity, if we use a circle collider, first of all, we might be happier with some of the collision. Especially, with something like this, you probably want to shrink the radius to be just a scooch smaller. Like that. Oh yeah, still existing in the world here. Apply, shrink you down, or get rid of you. Like, we might actually be a little happier with it. But I'm just thinking it's part... Yeah. So, we're going to want to change the friction. But I think there was something weird. Yeah, and a capsule would be even better for this, but different ones will go. There was something weird with the way the box collider, because it was a very tiny box collider, and the physics engine. This is the they use the box 2D collision system, which is an open source thing. But I'm thinking it was getting confused with the size of it, really, really small. So anyway, we've got that. They slide around the ground, but that's okay. So now we need the bullets to, like, you know, explode or whatever. Again, like, the whole thing with being on the ground and acting weird kind of doesn't matter, because they're just going to blow up most of the time when they hit the ground, if they're not already bouncing or something. We'll see. Oh, also, we still have bounce going on, right? No! That's very disappointing. We are going to make a physics material 2D. Which is really just going to be, like... Apparently when you hit undo on the name change, it just goes rid of it. It's probably just going to be the one. Default physics material. And it looks... So this is also, if you don't include one. So in our project settings... Physics 2D. It's got a slot here for default material. If you don't add one here, the one that gets used is exactly the same as when we create this. So you can see its bounciness is set to 0. So I think that's what, there was something weird going on there. So I'm going to add a little bit of bounciness by default. And this is going to get added to everything. We could use a different material for the bullet in the ground, but usually there's not going to be any reason for it. The only time we might want to do something different is if there's one bullet that's supposed to be particularly bouncy for some reason. And it still, like, slides around. I still don't know what's going on there. That's probably a failure to go to sleep. And again, our number's tweaking. I think it's because we're using fairly small objects here. There you go. That seems relatively reasonable. It also may have something to do with the fact that I'm always changing the rotation based on our velocity. I might be... That's what it was with the box. It's because our velocity basically went to 0, but I kept changing the rotation in my code, and the box was, like, going crazy because of it. It's because of our own code over here. What I'm probably going to want to do is add a minimum speed. Yeah. Just like that. It's not sliding along the ground. It's trying to roll, but I keep changing the art for it. So what we should probably do... I mean, it's not going to matter if our bullets are round. But for some of these with, like, the drag in the back, it should be based on the speed. If we're going fast, then it'll try to align it, but as we slow down, it does this. But that's what was going on. Same thing with the box collider. It was just, I was mucking around with it over here. Let's leave it uncommented for now, and we're going to figure out some other solution for it later on. Okay. And we can just add more drag. Friction won't really change the rolling unless we went back to a box, which, honestly... Anyway. These little fiddles, which are not important. What are we supposed to do? We were supposed to make it blow up. Right. So, first, let's... So there's this, which is one thing. And then we also want... on collision, enter 2D over here, which will be collision 2D. Collision. And what I'm going to do is if we collide... So there's a difference between a trigger and a collide. A trigger happens when we enter a trigger. So tanks are defined as triggers as opposed to colliders right now. But what I'm going to do is if we collide with something, like the ground, for example, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to call on trigger enter 2D with the... Did I misspell it? Of course I did. Why would I spell it correctly? And I'm just going to pass the collider that we hit to there. So that way we only have to write the code once, really, or, maybe another piece of code would be better. But if we collide with something, then we'll just call the on trigger for that collider. So it's going to be fine. So there's still going to be the issue of determining what we do with the initial spawn, because depending on exactly where we spawn and how the hitboxes for our tanks are defined, we may end up occasionally colliding with our own object. Right now, we are correctly spawning outside of the tank, but we're still going to want some sort of thing here. We can check the direction. If it collided with us, but it's actually traveling away from us, then we ignore it, or we put in like a, 0.1 second delay before triggering. I mean, we could make it never collide with our own tank, but I don't think that's well, might be okay too. Anyway, so if we get here, detonate and hurt everything within our radius. And I think all of our explosions, even like a bullet that's supposed to hit more or less directly, I think we'll probably still treat it as a radius. We'll give it a really small radius, but we'll still give it something. So, what we want to do here is physics 2D. You must have an overlap circle. Overlap circle all. Non-alloc. Oh, where you already have the thing. Yeah. We'll just use overlap circle all. So, what we're going to do is we're going to feed in a location, which is going to be the location of this bullet. This.transform.position. And a radius, which we have over here. And what this will do is this will return, I think it's collider 2Ds, yeah. It will return an array of collider 2Ds. Everything that is inside of this circle. This will actually include the bullet itself. You can specify... least in the 3D version, a layer mask if you want to limit what you hit. Right now we'll leave it be, but we could filter this to only return certain types of objects. But this is going to be okay. Ground hardness 2. Yeah, that's the thing. Different maps could have different types of material, and then all of a sudden what we do is we apply different physics material to the ground, different physics material to the bullets, and so on and so forth. Like, they could be a boulder embedded into a sandy, like, sort of hillside, and then maybe you want the bounce to work differently. Most of these games don't do that. Like, if you look at something like Worms, right? You have some of the maps, it looks like they've got rocks and sand, but most of they all react exactly the same way. An explosion removes some pixels, and that's that. And if there's bouncing, I think they bounce fairly consistently, but I might be wrong about that. So, for each, collider, 2D, goal in coals. And I know, like, for loops are better for memory efficiency. I think they've improved things in later versions of Unity. This is nice. Okay, so for each one of these colliders, we're going to do something. And then, so, first we probably want to do something like, to do, explosion graphic. Now, hurt everything in our radius that can be hurt, and then remove ourselves from the game. Remember, though, this is only running on the server at this point, right? The bullet is present on everyone's computer, and on everyone's computer, the collision and the trigger is probably processing. And that's fine, but only the server actually processes the final explosion and then sends the message. So, if we destroy something that has a network identity, I believe it self-cleans itself up from everyone's computer, so that's good. So remove ourselves from the game. Boom. And yeah, so the hurt is the only thing that matters. So how do we determine if something gets hurt? Oh, and hurt everything in our radius, and also something like to do remove ground pixels. We may, as a separate tutorial, we might do a sort of like how to remove chunks of pixels from something, and how do you simulate the physics around that. That is beyond the scope of the actual multiplayer thing. Same thing with terrain generation. We might do that as a separate tutorial, but for the same game. But for now, we're gonna, hold off on that. Yeah, you're totally allowed to ask questions. Here's an explosion graphic. Haha. Making your own game. Yeah, so I mean, this is not a game I'm like making to publish. This is a game we're doing to learn together. The Quill18 Creates channel, youtube.com/Quill18Creates, has a bunch of programming tutorials on it, and all these files will be available for free. There's already a GitHub repository for what we've done so far, and it'll be updated with what we do today. So you can download everything and check out the code and make your own changes, make the game a lot better than what I do. Okay, so things that can be hurt are really technically just tanks. So what we could do is we could check this thing that is within my radius. Is it a tank? And the tank can have its own health, yada, 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 yada. However, I think what we're going to do, because there might be more things with health for various reasons, we're gonna make a new script. Whoa. Okay, thank you very much for clicking oddly there. We're going to make a new C# script over here. And this is going to be something like health. So this is a script we can add to anything that's supposed to have health and hit points. Now, right now, that'll just be the tank, but, conceivably there could be something else. So this has got a health script. Excellent. And boom, boom. Ba-dam. Compile. Okay. And this is definitely going to be networked, so using Unity engine.networking. And it's going to be derived from network behavior over here. And I don't know if it's going to need updates or starts or whatever. Well, I guess we'll leave it in there. That's fine. We are going to have a float called hit points. And this is going to be a sync var. And we're going to have a command. Void command change health. I just realized something. In our tank over here, I use a command called on curt. See, change turret angle should probably be set turret angle. I like to use change when it's being changed by a certain amount, and set when it's being changed to an absolute amount. So I think I'm going to rename change turret angle to set turret angle. I think that's more descriptive. Now, on something change, I think is fine either way. Because to me, it sort of implies that you get the new value in there. Because it could be changed by any kind of thing, a set, an added. So this is going to be change health. So this is going to be changing the health by a certain amount. So we're going to get a float. It's going to require an amount. So this is a command, so it's going to be something that executes on the server, which is fine. So we'll just do something like hit points minus equals amount. If hit points less than or equal to 0, then die. Where die does a thing. Debug.log die. We'll destroy this game object.